Hello, my amazing parents, teachers, caregivers, nannies, school owners, administrators, stakeholders across the board. Welcome to today's session. Today we are going deeper into what we talked about the last time, and that is the 5 learning areas of ages 0 to 5 children. Today, I am going to be talking about cognitive development. That has to do with the academic aspect of the children. You want to know whether your child is writing well. You want to know whether your child is adding up numbers well. This is where we are going to be talking about those aspects. It is important for you to know that as stakeholders, you need to know what to do to help your children think well, learn well, explore well, and be able to have a good understanding of the environment. Before children can perform academically, they must learn how to think. So you may want to ask yourself, what is cognitive development? It is about building the brain through experiences. The experiences children have around them. That's what helps them to build their cognitive development. Before children can perform academically, they must first learn how to think, because cognitive development goes beyond academics and does not necessarily start in class. Let me ask you, what is cognitive development? It is about building the brain through experiences such as thinking and reasoning, understanding concepts, problem solving, and exploring learning in general. Why is cognitive development important? It is the foundation for learning. It impacts the problem solving skills. These are skills children must have, and this helps them. It encourages their curiosity. They're curious about everything going on around them. They want to know, why is this happening? Why is that happening? They are thinking, and it has to do with their brain. That is why it is important. Their curiosity is what shapes their understanding of everything that goes on around them. Here are some examples of cognitive development. So when you say a child is solving problems, this is one example. When they stack blocks, in the process of stacking those blocks, some are dropping, some are staying. And in their head, they're wondering, why is this dropping? I'm putting it, but it's dropping. And why is this other one staying? Those are the kind of things that goes on in the head of these young little children. Another example is fitting shapes in a sorted, object or surface. Okay, so you can have a shape like the square. You would have the shape that is triangle or circle. Now the child picks each and every one and is looking for, where does this fit in? That is another example that shows the child understands the concept of shapes. So asking questions, that's another example. That speaks to a child's curiosity. So he sees a ball, he picks a ball, he bounces the ball, or she, just throws the ball on the floor and she sees it rolling. And he's wondering, why is he bound? The girl is wondering, why is the ball bouncing? The boy is bouncing the ball. And the boy is also thinking, why is the girl's ball? It's the same ball, and hers is rolling on the floor. These are questions they ask in themselves, and they're trying to find answers to. These examples show cognitive skills in action. Children learn by exploring and solving problems. Now, cognitively, how do babies learn? You're wondering why I'm asking babies. why babies learn. Of course they learn, and we'll find out. How do they learn? And we're talking about ages 0 to 18 months. Okay? So babies learn through their senses. Babies learn through their senses. And we're talking the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of taste. These are the ways babies learn cognitively. Another way they learn is through movement and repetition. So a baby raises the hands up and they wave, You'll wave your hand. So you can't wave your hand and let the thing just drop. The baby will keep going this way, this way. Repetition is also coming in there. So movement and repetition by waving the hand. So movement and repetition comes in this example. Some of the activities children do to reinforce movement and repetition are shaking of rattles, dropping of objects repeatedly. These things are done repeatedly. You may be wondering, you give a child a toy and he drops it. You pick it up and the child goes back and drops it. That child is not naughty. That child is learning at that particular time, is learning cause and effect. Babies are not just playing, they are building brain connections. Let me ask you a question. How do toddlers learn? We're looking at children from 18 to 36 months. Do you have an idea? Okay, they learn through trial and error. So I give you an example. Children stacking blocks. This can be done in different ways. So every child can do it in their own way. But something is common. Some are stable, some are falling. And whilst they're falling, they're picking and putting them back just to make sure they get a balance at the end of the day. That is trial and error. It can also be through problem solving. An example is a child trying to get a toy that is out of reach. That child can decide to look out for something to get the toy down. That is problem solving. Another example is mimicking. They learn through mimicking. So you can have a child watch you do something and they do same. They just repeat it after you. Washing of hands is one. Pouring of water is another. It can also be exploration driven by curiosity. How does this work? When children are wondering how ladder forms, by mixing. How does this work? For example, when children wonder how ladder is formed, they can explore that by pouring detergent into water, mixing it up, of course with supervision. One other way is solving problems. So let's go into the classrooms. One of the pairs forgot his lunch bag or her lunch bag at home. And the teacher is thinking, what should we do? And suddenly another child says, oh, I can share my biscuits with him or her. That is solving a very simple problem in class. Another way they learn is by reasoning. They do a lot of reasoning. And I'll give you another example. They think about why certain things happen. Why does the teacher ask us to wet the flower in front of the class every day? Why do we have to do that every day? How do 3 to 5 years learn? These are preschoolers and nursery children. They learn by asking so many questions. I'll give an example. Parents do school run. You might just find one of them asking, Why does mommy take me to school every day? Why not daddy? That's a question. That's one way. One other way is children predicting, making predictions. So when the sky is cloudy and everything looks dark, a child can just say, it's going to rain. That's prediction. How do we support cognitive development? We support cognitive development by stimulating, the children with toys. Take, for example, give them puzzles, give them blocks, expose them to anything that will help them in these areas. We can also encourage them to explore, allow them play. It is their time. Let them play. In the process of playing, they're learning. And then give them listening ears. Let them ask questions. Any question they ask. Some may make sense, some don't necessarily have to make sense. Just listen to them. They are learning. Cognitive development is fundamental for children's learning. Let's nurture it. This brings us to the end of today's session. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, turn on the post notification, and I'll see you in our next video. Thank you.